So you can see this is the inverse relation. So whenever there is inverse relation between two variables, the curve will be sloping downwards from left to right. This is origin. The curve slopes downwards from left to right. Demand curve slopes downwards from left to right, because there is inverse relation between price and quantity. And this inverse relation we call it as law of demand. And what are the exceptions to the law of demand? Normally, whenever price increases, quantity decreases, or price declines, quantity decreases. This is the general rule. But there are certain exceptions. And another point is, when price declines, quantity increases, okay? And this increase in quantity is because of two factors. One is, you can divide the increase in quantity, you can attribute to two reasons. One is, the existing customers, they try to purchase more, and the new customers, they start buying now. So this low price attracts new customers to start buying, and it also makes the existing customers to buy more. As a result, the quantity will increase. So the increase in quantity can also be attributed to the two factors. Okay. Now let us see what are the exceptions to the law of demand. There are three possible exceptions to the general rule. One is Giffen's paradox, and second one is called Thorsten Veblen's doctrine of conspicuous consumption, and third one is called price expectations of people. Let us discuss these three in detail. Sir Robert Giffen, he has taken the example of low-paid British wage earners, and he has studied the purchase expenditure patterns of low-paid British wage earners in UK industry. And these low-paid British wage earners, they subsisted on bread and meat. Their diet mainly consists of bread and meat. When price of bread increase, as per law of demand, quantity of bread must decline. But when price of bread increased, they reduced the consumption of meat, and in its place also they increased the quantity of bread, and the quantity of bread increased. So it's a clear exception to the general rule. Second one is Thorsten Veblen's doctrine, famous doctrine, that is doctrine of conspicuous consumption. The doctrine says that when people measure the desirability of a commodity only based on its price and nothing else influences their decision, then they may buy more at high prices and they may buy low quantities at low prices, less at low prices. They may buy more at high prices and less at low prices. Example, the status symbols like diamonds or other things considered by the rich people. When the price is high, they consider it as a status symbol, and when the price comes down, they no longer consider them as a status symbol, and they may not buy more at low prices. That's also a clear exception to the law of demand. The price expectations of individuals. When price of gasoline, for example, increases, price of petrol increases, and if people anticipate further increase in the price, even at the higher price they buy more. And similarly, when price declines, when they anticipate further decline, they will wait. So they may not purchase. So these two are two exceptions to the general rule. So this is about the general meaning of demand and the factors influencing demand. What are the determinants of demand for any commodity? The general factors: own price, incomes of people, prices of related goods, and wants of taste. These are the general factors influencing the demand for any product, and they are also called the determinants of demand for any product. Now we are coming to the second aspect, that is elasticity. What is the need for learning elasticity and how it is useful to a manager? The law of demand only says that when price increases, quantity declines. For example, price increases by say 50%. When price increases by 50%, the law only says that quantity declines. By how much? How much is the decline in quantity? That is, whether it is exactly 50% decline or more than 50% or less than 50%. We do not know. So, to know the responsiveness of quantity to a given change in price, we need to calculate elasticity. Any manager, whenever he wants to alter the price, whenever he wants to increase or decrease the price, he has to know how quantity is going to respond whenever there is a change in price. So for answering these questions, we have to learn about elasticity. Elasticity is a general concept. You can apply the concept to any other, like in price elasticity, income elasticity, cross elasticity, supply elasticity, elasticity of expectations, advertisement elasticity. So any two variables can be related and you can measure elasticity if you know the general formula of elasticity. So in economics, elasticity always means percentage change in dependent variable by percentage change in independent variable. This is a general definition for elasticity. Elasticity always means percentage change in dependent variable by percentage change in independent variable. So in our demand function, we have seen that quantity demanded is a function of own price, incomes, price of related goods, wants or tastes. If you relate price to quantity, independent variable price and dependent variable is say quantity dependent variable, and price, you will get price elasticity. So price elasticity means percentage change in quantity divided by percentage change in price. Suppose if you relate income quantity relation, that is income elasticity is equal to percentage change in quantity by percentage change in income. Instead, if you want to see the relation between quantity of B and the price of A, what happens to quantity of B or how quantity of B, commodity B responds when price of A changes? You are measuring elasticity, that is called cross elasticity. Elasticity of B when price of A changes. This is known as cross elasticity concept. And you can also apply to elasticity of expenditure, advertisement elasticity or supply elasticity. So only thing is you need to relate two things. One is dependent variable and independent variable. On the numerator always dependent variable and on the denominator independent variable. Now let us some small doubts you may have. In our formula we have taken percentage changes in either numerator or denominator, percentage change in quantity and percentage change in price, for example. Why we need to take percentage changes and why not absolute changes? What happens if you take change in quantity and change in price? A given absolute change may be relatively large or relatively small for certain commodities. For example, I will give you an example. Say change of price, say 50 paise. 50 paise change may be insignificant in case of several items nowadays. But 50 paise is increase of 50 paise, for example, is definitely a significant aspect when you take the price of a chewing gum or newspaper or matchsticks, etc. Small priced items or low priced items, for example, this becomes a significant item change. And for high priced items, 50 paise change is insignificant. And similarly, take the case of quantity. The absolute change in quantity may be say 1000 tons. It may be significant for certain commodities and insignificant for certain commodities. 1000 tons of gold, for example, is very significant. And 1000 tons of say wheat production in the country as a whole is very insignificant. The same item the given change may be relatively large for certain commodities and relatively small for certain other commodities. That is why to have a uniform measure, we need to take percentage changes rather than absolute changes. So we first confine to price elasticity, and then we can discuss about income elasticity and cross elasticity. So we have seen that price elasticity, the subscript P stands for price elasticity, percentage change in quantity by percentage change in price. So how you get delta Q by Q, that gives you percentage change in quantity divided by delta P by P, that gives you percentage change in price. So delta Q, delta means change in quantity by original or initial quantity. Change in quantity by initial quantity. The whole expression is equal to percentage change in quantity. And similarly, change in price by initial price, that gives you percentage change in price. And if you simplify this, delta Q by Q into, just reverse this, P by delta P, that becomes delta Q by delta P times P by Q ratio. So if you simplify this, you bring this delta P here and Q here. So ultimately, what is price elasticity? Price elasticity is equal to P by Q times delta Q by delta P. This is the formula given by Alfred Marshall for measuring elasticity, price elasticity. So P by Q ratio times the slope of the demand curve. That is the definition for price elasticity. And now, what is the value of coefficient for price elasticity? Since price and quantity varies inversely, EP is always negative. So the negative sign is usually ignored. For example, price declines by 2% and quantity increases by 2%. So 2 by declines what minus quantity increases 2%, numerator plus 2%, denominator minus 2%. This is equal to 1. Result is equal to 1. Suppose instead of that price increases and quantity decreases. Then price plus 2, this is minus 2. Minus 2 by plus 2 is equal to minus 2. Always you get minus value. Price elasticity is always negative. So that minus sign is usually ignored because everybody knows that there is inverse relation between price and quantity. So you need not put minus sign before the value of coefficient. Now depending on the value of coefficient, you may divide elasticity into 5 types. One is if the value of coefficient is greater than 1, then demand is said to be elastic. Greater than 1, when you get greater than 1, suppose percentage change in quantity by percentage change in price. The result greater than 1, if you want to get the result greater than 1, the numerator must be more and denominator must be relatively less. So a given change in price brings more than proportional change in quantity. That is, quantity is highly responsive, relatively more responsive to a given change in price. Then you get value of more than 1 or greater than 1. Then demand is said to be elastic. So if the value of coefficient is greater than 1, demand is said to be elastic, and the diagram for elastic demand curve is, for example, OP, Q, OP1, Q1. So this is the shape of demand curve, elastic, value of coefficient is greater than 1. So price declines from OP, when price is OP, quantity is OQ, okay. When price declines from OP to OP1, quantity increases from OQ to OQ1. So this is called elastic, that is, quantity is highly responsive, it is responding more to a given change in price. That is one first type. And if the value of coefficient is less than 1, then demand is said to be inelastic. A given change in price brings less than proportional change in quantity. Quantity is not very responsive. Quantity declines. When price increases, quantity declines, but not to the same extent. That is less than 1. So the shape of an inelastic demand curve is relatively a steeper one like this. A relatively larger change in price causes a relatively smaller change in quantity. And when the value of coefficient is equal to 1, then demand is said to be unit elastic. Unit elastic. The unit elastic demand curve, the shape of unit elastic demand curve is a rectangular hyperbola. The areas of the first rectangle and second rectangle must be the same. That is called a rectangular hyperbola. This is a unit elastic demand curve. When the value of coefficient is 0, for example, then demand is said to be perfectly inelastic. These are the three cases, and the two other cases are, for example, demand curve takes the shape of a vertical straight line. So whatever may be the change, price declines or increases, quantity remains same. Delta Q is 0 and the whole fraction comes to 0, and the value of coefficient is 0. When the value of coefficient is 0, demand is said to be perfectly inelastic. And if the demand curve takes the shape of a horizontal straight line, then demand is said to be perfectly elastic like this. A relatively small change in price, infinitesimally small change in price causes infinitesimally larger change in quantity. The change in quantity is infinity. You cannot identify. So the value of coefficient becomes infinity. This is called perfectly elastic demand curve. So based on the value of coefficient, you can classify elasticity into 5 types. What is the relation between elasticity and expenditure? This is very, very important to a manager, because a change in price affects the total revenue to the firm depending on the elasticity. Generally, what is the objective of a manager? Why he wants to change the price, increase or decrease the price? His aim is to increase his total revenue, okay. So what is the strategy he is adopting? He wants to decrease the price to get more revenue. This is possible only when the demand is elastic. For example, decreasing price brings more revenue when demand is elastic, and decreasing price brings less revenue when demand is inelastic. And decreasing price may not affect, remains the same, TR remains the same. If demand has unit elasticity, so that is the reason why he should know the elasticity and its importance. So he wants to increase his total revenue, and for that he wants to use price manipulation as a weapon. Depending on the elasticity, he has to use the price. For example, if the demand for its product is elastic, he has to decrease his price to get more revenue. And if the demand for his product is inelastic, he has to increase price. If demand is inelastic, he has to increase price to get more revenue. And if demand is unit elastic, there is no use of either increasing or decreasing. His total revenue remains constant. So the same idea you can explain with simple tables and also with arithmetic and as well as graphically. For example, price quantity. Price per unit and the number of units purchased at that quantity. So in the third column PQ, price per unit into number of units, that gives you total revenue to the firm or total expenditure to the consumer. For example, 10 into 1000, 10,000, 9 into 2, 18,000, 8 into 3, 24,000. That means this is total revenue to the seller and the total expenditure to the buyer, this PQ. What you observe here, price declined from 10 to 9 or 9 to 8, and what happened to total revenue? When price declined, total revenue increased. Price declined and PQ or total revenue increased, or when price increased, PQ declines. Inverse related, these two. The first column and third column. You have to compare the first column and third column. You will find that when price declines, total revenue increases. Or when price declines, total revenue increases, and when price increases, total revenue declines. We can also prove this when demand is elastic. So this is the case of elastic demand. So this happens when demand is elastic. You can prove this with a graph also. Let us see. This is original price, OP original price and OQ original quantity. And price declines to OP1. Quantity increases to OQ. OP, okay. This is the demand curve. Original price is OP and original quantity is OQ. Price per unit into number of units. OP into OQ gives you the area of the rectangle OPAQ. OPAQ is equal to total revenue to the firm or total expenditure to the seller. Price per unit into number of units. The area of the rectangle OPAQ. Now see, price declines to OP1 and the quantity increases to OQ1, and this is, say, you call this as B. What is the area of the new rectangle? OP1BQ1. OP1BQ1 is equal to TR1, new total revenue. Which rectangle is bigger in size? So you see, this is the first rectangle and this is the second one. What is the common area? This is the common area to both rectangles. And this is unique to the first one and this is unique to the second one. By obvious, with vision, we can say that this area is bigger in size compared to the first one. That means the second rectangle OP1BQ1 or TR1 is greater than TR. So when price declines from OP to OP1, total revenue increase, and we know this is elastic demand curve. So in case of elastic demand, a decline in price brings more revenue and an increase in price brings less revenue. This point the manager has to remember. And second, let us see the inelastic demand curve case.